guests at this hour. Tushar Gupta, senior editor of Swarajya magazine. We also have Tanvi Purti, political analyst. Tanvi, the question here is of reforms to ensure that those who are studying in Madarsas are also part of the education system at large, that they do not feel and they do not let go, they are not left behind. Then shouldn't these reforms be welcomed, that if there is a significant number of Madarsas who are registered, around 16,000 in all, registered with the UP Madarsa board, then they would ensure that be it English, other languages are also taught, and Madarsa students also get qualified for education further.
Yes, absolutely. The kind of reforms that everybody, really envisages for the Muslim community should be welcomed, by all. The problem is that when BJP tries to do it, the intention is always questioned, that whether they are doing with a positive intention or not. Now that arises from the polarization that their politics depends on, and also, the kind of treatment that they give to Indian Muslims. They sort of treat them as second-class citizens, whether it has been on the, by slapping UAPA on them or by bulldozing their homes in their quest for bulldozer justice. So, all of that questions the problem with Muslims not accepting reforms coming from them stems from the fact that they have failed to reach out to them to take them into confidence.
Tanvi, the question here is that who are the set of people who are saying that there is polarization or the Muslims are objecting to it? Look at the affirmation that has come. The Deoband community, the Barelvi Muslims, all of them have welcomed this kind of reforms. All of them are saying that source of funding is something which is a matter of concern, and hence it should be investigated and interrogated. Who are these set of people who are not from the Muslim community, certainly, who are now having issues with this kind of reforms?
So I'll give you an example now. If you remember farm laws, or if you remember, if you want to take up this reform also, who are the stakeholders informed? Please tell me, when did UP government consult them before passing on these reforms? I totally get your point, that the kind of
let me correct you. I'm just going to try and tell you that yes, the UP government did tell the Madarsa owners that this is coming, that this was on the way, that it is not that this decision was taken without getting the stakeholders on board, and that's a correction of your facts. Let me bring in Tushar Gupta now.
What I'm trying to say is,
this entire argument, what fails me here is that, yes, you talk about reforms, but listen to the stakeholders. If the stakeholders are on board, they are saying let the reforms come in the community, then who are these people who constantly look for polarization and other narrative leading to the othering of Muslims even further? Tushar Gupta, the larger question here is, 16,500 Madarsas in all are funded by the UP board of Madarsa, the state board, of which 500 are aided. The source of funding of the remaining 16,000 is a subject of a discussion now, which the UP government has said that they should go ahead and disclose the source of funding and affiliation. Again, the intent of the government is under question.
Look, Maria, the intent always comes into question. I don't know why. We can't in one breath say that the Muslims are painted as second-class citizens by the BJP, and in the same breath say that the BJP has no right to assure progressive reforms for the community. I understand madrasas are religious institutions. They have all the right, and the constitution gives them that right. The BJP doesn't. All the BJP government of Uttar Pradesh is saying is we want to check the infrastructure. Are there enough toilets? Are there enough classrooms? Is there enough infrastructure in terms of blackboards, in terms of desks, in terms of chairs? We also want to look into the funding to ensure that the madrasas are sustainable for the future. We also want to look into the curriculum to ensure that the children who are studying there, it could be any number, it could be 5, it could be 50, it could be 500. They're not just being taught the religious teachings, which is important in a madrasa. They're also up to date with the NCERT curriculum. Because tomorrow when these students in the madrasa, they turn 16 or they turn 18, many of them would want to go out and become doctors, they would want to become engineers, they would want to become journalists like you, and they would want to contribute in the Indian economy progressively. So all the government is saying is we just want to have a record on paper as to how many madrasas are running, who's funding them, are they funded enough for the reforms to carry on, for the education to carry on, and that's about it. I do not understand how this becomes about anti-minority sentiment of the BJP, how this becomes about the UAPA. To my good friend Tanvi here, UAPA is not slapped on Muslims, it's slapped on terrorists. Again, bulldozers are not used on Muslim houses, it's used on illegal properties. These are religious intensive. The religion doesn't matter here. All we want, Maria, all we want for any minority, starting with the Muslims, is inclusion. And it starts at the grassroots level, in which in this case is the madrasas. Now, I don't know why people oppose it.
Why oppose it? Tanvi, respond. I mean, why should it be seen that UAPAs, which is slapped only against terrorists, be branded as a law which is slapped against Muslims?
So I'm sure that Dr. Kafil Khan, who was working for the downtrodden in UP, was a terrorist because he was slapped with UAPA. But later on, the courts could not find it, and I can literally list countless such cases which happen in UP and the rest of the India.
I want to know. I want to know from you, besides Kafil Ahmed. Go ahead. Let me get some more details from you, Tanvi. Please go ahead.
We have data where so many journalists have gone on record and said that UAPA it's misused against the Muslims and against the minorities. So that's a stated fact. I am not the one saying it. You can refer to the reports. Now, my point number 2, Maria. If you remember Supreme Court's yesterday judgment on the hijab ban, how they have criticized the Karnataka government for interfering in the school's policy. Now, my question is, the BJP wants the best. If you're saying that BJP wants the best interest for the Muslims, then why don't they go out, creating awareness campaigns amongst them and sort of telling them, educating them what they want to do? Reforms happen at the grassroots level. I am not saying what the BJP is trying to do in UP, collecting data for madrasas, is wrong. All I'm saying is that Muslims today feel secluded from the BJP and their mainstream politics.
Tanvi, I'm a Muslim as well. I am from the Muslim community. And I'm a Muslim as well. For you to make such a generic statement is really problematic. I'm asking a simple question. Madarsas are run by a Madarsa board, and Madarsa boards are undergoing reforms. And particularly in the backdrop of what has happened regarding investigations, where the role of Popular Front of India is on the surface, that they were the ones behind all those protests that happened against hijab in Karnataka. Isn't this something that is needed? This is the need of the hour, because we understand radicalization. We understand deep-rooted Islamization which is happening among the Muslim youth of the country. Let's look at it from a different prism.
Of course it does. I am against radicalization, and I completely support the states getting registrations of the madrasas. I completely support the reform. All I'm saying is that you need to embrace the people, in the process, rather than, your ministers going outright to ban all the madrasas. We will end all the madrasas. One side, your ministers in Assam are saying that we'll cut all the madrasas out once we are, now that we are in power. And one side, you are sort of, creating that crackdown. You need to take them into confidence.
Okay, I have just enough time from Tushar Gupta. Tushar Gupta, quick response from you, and then I move on.
Maria, you've made the religious point very, very well. I don't think I can do any better than that, but I'll also make another administrative angle. Look, at the end of the day, what are madrasas? The education institution, like any other educational institution in India. The funding, the accounts, the infrastructure all needs to be recorded, not for the benefit of the government, but the benefit of the stakeholders, which are the students in this case, who are going to be very important elements of the society tomorrow, of the economy tomorrow. That's the one angle we are not looking at. We are stuck in a debate where it's about the BJP and the minorities. Now, if I go by Tanvi's logic, if the BJP wants to do anything for the minorities in India, it needs to either wait out before it becomes an opposition, or it just needs to continue the grassroots approach. By that logic, nothing will ever be achieved for the minorities in India. And while the other communities march on, the minorities, Muslims in this case, will be left behind. We do not want that, especially for the young students. We do not want that.
Yes, I agree. And this othering of Muslims is being pushed by those who are opposing these reforms, I would say, because what is the need of the hour is that just as the Muslims, several of those who are running these madarsas are cooperating because they want to understand their own source of funding and become part of the larger education system. It's those who